Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Commander live stream. I'm Austin, and today we're going to be playing some Slivers. So, first I would like to give everyone a moment to kind of gather in, and if you're catching this on YouTube, you can fast forward or go to the timestamp, which I'll have in the comments. And while I'm at it, I should probably get chat up. Scoot things over a bit. All right, should be all set. I'm gonna have to make adjustments to this once we get started. So welcome. Today we are playing Sliver Overlord. So playing some tribal slivers, 5 color slivers. Plenty of creatures. And lots of tribal artifacts and enchantments. Which reminds me to make a slight change to the deck list, because it looks like it didn't save. So we're just adding in Heart Sliver, extra haste, and removing one of the top end cards. So the way this deck functions is it focuses on filling the board with as many creatures as possible. And so all the slivers, they benefit off of one another by being on the board. And so each one of them has a certain ability, and if you target or remove a particular sliver, then that ability goes away for the rest. So like Heart Sliver gives all slivers haste. Crypt Sliver can allow you to tap your slivers to regenerate a target sliver. Necrotic Sliver gives them the ability to pay 3 and sacrifice themselves to destroy target permanent. And as well as giving your slivers indestructible, giving them all +1/+1 for each other sliver on the battlefield with Legion. And then you've got things like Double Strike and Lifelink and many other abilities that slivers have. So when you have enough creatures on board and enough power from some of your smaller creatures, it really adds to the board state, and kind of you hope to prevent your opponents from destroying your creatures and using some counter spells to back yourself up, and a few slivers that protect your board state as well. So we have things like the Diffusion Sliver. Prevents them from being targeted by a spell or ability unless they pay 2. Or Opaline Sliver gives you a card when it becomes the target of a spell or ability. And, you know, there are many ways to interact with your opponent's board state with some removal, like aura shards can destroy all artifacts and enchantments. And so that's just kind of a quick overview on how the deck functions. And I think in a quick minute here, we're going to get started. So if anyone is watching and is interested in joining in, do not hesitate. Or hesitate. That's up to you. Do not hesitate. Oh, I've made a noise. I was trying to check, make sure everything is good to go. So we're all set, and I'm gonna head over to the play lobby. Simple multiplayer. And just leave a comment so that those that do decide to join the game can either check in on the stream or see what it is that we are doing. Those who are watching. So constructed open play, just for fun, playing Slivers, multiplayer, and free for all. People can watch, people can join, and let's get started. So hosting a new match. Yeah, so this deck is a lot of fun. I've been playing it for a while. It was the second deck that I put together for Commander after building allies with Cromat at the helm during the Zendikar block. I had one of my friends from the local game store say I should play another tribal deck, you know, similar in colors and a lot of interesting creatures that join together to give each other bonuses in a similar fashion to allies. I mean, allies work more towards enter the battlefield, but these, you know, obviously gain value from when they are on the battlefield. And it's actually been a little while since I've played with them. I haven't had a chance to, like, I've had the deck built and haven't had a chance to use some of the new cards from like Commander 2017 or Ixalan. So I got cards like Vanquisher's Banner and Herald's Horn, as well as Kindred Discovery. So that's just going to give all my Slivers some bonuses, +1/+1, and whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, draw a card. This works for casting or attacking. And then Herald's Horn is cost reduction. So my hopes are to get a couple of those out on the board and ramp up early as well to interact with the Slivers, to get enough of them on board to where, you know, they all get their bonuses and continue to grow. So let's check in. Just need one more player to get started. Yes, I should probably go over what Sliver Overlord does. So for one of each color, you have a 7/7 Sliver Mutant, and you pay 3. You can search your library for a Sliver card, reveal it, and put it in your hand. Pay 3 to gain control of a target Sliver, which isn't as helpful unless you give your creatures the ability. So let's just get things set up for stream, and we should be good to go. All right. I'm going to move the chat over and kind of set things up as such. So we should have both chats going so that anyone who's playing in the game can communicate with us, and anyone who is participating in the stream. Hi. Okay, so we have 2 lands. A way to make our creatures unblockable, some counter magic, some removal. We're going to keep this. looking good. And we are up against Tymna, Thrasios, Marywn, and Thada. So Tymna Thrasios is generally seen as a competitive group of commander, but for the most part it can be just a value deck. And so it's 4 colors minus red, and Thrasios allows you to scry the top of your deck and put something onto the battlefield, or put it into your hand if it's not a land. And Tymna says whenever creatures deal damage, you draw a card and lose life equal to the number of cards drawn. Okay, let's take our turn. I'm going to lead off, I think, with a Misty Rainforest. And grab green and maybe another color. Maybe green-black or green-red, since I have access to blue and white if I need it. Okay, so let's just keep it simple. Go green-red and not pay any life. Don't really think I'm going to be casting Swan Song in the first turn. And so Marywn is a elf tribal deck, an elf tribal commander from Dominaria. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Marywn. So it adds mana equal to your mana pool, equal to Marwyn's power. So you get its power up high enough, well, you're going to add quite a bit of mana to your mana pool. And Thada says, I have Island Walk, which we have an island in our hand. And when it deals combat damage to a player, you may search that player's library for an artifact, exile it, and then cast it until the end of turn. And so generally people go for Soul Ring in the early game. Take away your opponent's Soul Ring. Feels good. And from there, it's whatever they want. Now, in this deck, we have maybe 3 artifacts and only 1 that'll actually be helpful to them, unless they want a Life Crafter's Bestiary. I think that would be something worth grabbing, maybe, depending on how many creatures they have and if they want to scry or have a way to produce green to draw cards, because that seems unlikely. Okay, so probably going to want to get Gemhide Sliver down during turn 2, since it's going to be our turn. And that'll give us some extra mana. Hopefully next turn we can get down Harmonic and start destroying some of these early game artifact and enchantments. So here's an island. Gemhide Sliver. And that's it. So Gemhide Sliver, tap, add 1 mana of any color, and that gives all slivers tap, add 1 mana of any color. So we play Harmonic, it's going to destroy an artifact or enchantment, and then can tap for 1 mana of any color. Okay. Remorseful Cleric. You may sacrifice it to exile all cards in target player's graveyard. So 2/1 flying. And since we've gone over everyone's commanders, I'm just going to close these up to allow you to see everyone's board state a little bit better. Okay, so free plant token from that land comes into play tapped, and with the remaining mana, we're going to see, yep, there it is, Marywn. So starting this turn, they will be able to start giving it +1/+1 counters and really ramping up quite quickly. We have an answer to slow them down a little bit. That is, unless I don't think destroying this quite yet is the answer. All right. We're going to have 4 mana if we so choose. Probably only going to use 3 of it, so this will be a tap land. Drawing more lands would be nice. I mean, Gemhide's great, but if it goes away, then it goes away. Ice Over. Enchanted permanent does not untap during that player's untap step. Well, I guess I'll just allow that to go and maybe not play Harmonic. So 4 mana could bring down a shifting Sliver. It doesn't do me any good currently, and I don't see any reason to destroy the Soul Ring now, or to... I could maybe get rid of the runes, but it seems a little early to be, you know, this is one of our, besides Aura Shards, is one of our only artifact or enchantment removal, so it seems a little soon to be blowing up artifacts or enchantments. So I think since we did draw into a Sea of Clouds and no one's really playing anything too crazy, just going to play our land and maybe throw down a Shifting Sliver. 4 mana. There it is. So now Slivers cannot be blocked except by Slivers, and my creatures can tap to add 1 mana. So kind of see how the deck functions pretty early on with just 2 Slivers. The more we get, the more abilities they have. And let's see. There's a turn 3 Tymna. Looks like they are able to play that because they got access to black and white and missing their other 2 colors currently. All right, so we have a Remorseful Cleric getting in for 2 against our Thada opponent. Ew, Slivers. It's fine. And Tymna's ability is going to trigger, and so they're going to lose a life, draw a card from one opponent being attacked, and that's with any creature. So next turn they get attack with 2 creatures and lose a couple life and draw a couple cards. So that's something we definitely got to look out for. I'm thinking during the next turn, because we have access to most colors depending on what our opponents do, I'm thinking it might be a good idea to get the Overlord out and leave up some counter magic to protect our creatures. Besides the... That's a Manglehorn. We'll get back to that. Besides the Tymna Thrasios player, it's like, unless our opponent wants to leave up counter magic, you don't see much removal from green besides fight mechanics or anything like that. And yeah, so Manglehorn. Whenever a player casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Doesn't seem like a lot, but in a 4-player game, people are going to be casting spells left and right. So, gonna play a Flooded Strand and crack it. Now, since we already have 2 options for blue, I think it's good to go for a black-white source. So yes, we'll pay the mana. Ah, yes, Ryan says, I had a Sliver deck once, and Hive Lord was the commander. Yes, Hive Lord's in the 99 in this build. I've tried a few different variations with Hive Lord and, you know, what else? Legion was the other one I've used. I haven't used Queen as the commander, but, you know, I always find Sliver Overlord to be more of a utility creature, and if your opponents take it, you know, they can take all your creatures, so it's a risky run, but other than that, I mean, it feels pretty good to have a 7/7 that can grab you any card from your deck. So with nothing else, we are gonna pass the turn with a single blue mana open. And you already see the Mana Gorger Hydra is growing. So it is a 2/2 with a single +1/+1 counter. And this is where Tymna and the Remorseful Cleric can get in for some damage. I expect us to be attacked. Definitely something that is going to happen probably during this turn. Even though we're at 36, mostly from dealing damage to ourselves, fetches and shocks and everything. We do have a 7/7, and they could get in for 2 in the air, so why not? That is unless they're afraid of getting attacked back. But looks like they are leaving it back possibly for some block sack shenanigans, but I don't believe there's anything in graveyards just yet besides us. Nothing to worry about graveyard-wise. So playing a little cautious, but also acceptable, and that's before playing the land. So there is a possibility of a terrain generator, and it looks like our Thada opponent has stepped away for a moment. So they will be back momentarily as they're taking 2 damage. And maybe back. So they were at least able to click through that trigger. So let's see how many. So there's the terrain generator, producing a little bit more mana for them. And what else? That's going to be their turn. So passing it over to the elf player. And like I said, I'm just leaving up Swan Song just in case of something. I don't see any likelihood that one of our opponents may have something. I feel like if they were going to leave up counter mana, they would have used it already, and that would have baited our Swan Song. But, I mean, other than that, I'm pretty confident with how our next turn's going to go. Our Slivers can't be blocked, so 7/7 unblockable. That's some commander damage coming into one player. Alright, Managorcha Hydra getting a little bit bigger, up to a 3/3, and that's a Lurking Predators, which is a amazing card. And Dictative Crewfix. So yeah, as you can see, the Managorcha Hydra is just getting pretty big. It's about to be up to a 4/4. So there's a good chance we may attack that way. We're going to allow the Dictative Crewfix to go through, but I'm debating on whether or not I want to counter the Lurking Predators or not. They can't block us, so that's a pretty big deal. Not being able to block any of our creatures, and then what? We could get in for 7, maybe a little bit more if we want. I think I'm going to let this go through, and if worst comes to worst, we just cast Harmonic Sliver. So let's see if they want to attack with any of their creatures. You know, get in with that 0/1 plant. That's how you know. That's how you show your opponents that you mean business. We still have one more turn cycle, so unless anything generally threatens our board state, it's more of a protect our creatures. I'm telling you, I've lost many a games due to someone taking control of Overlord and then just start stealing all our creatures with that pay 3 gain control of target sliver ability. I've tried to include a bit more counter, as you can see by our very blue heavy hand, which there really aren't that many counter spells in here. Alright, so that's our Overlord getting targeted. Yes, I have tried Wild Pair in the deck. I've used it for a while, and more recently it ended up getting taken out from the deck because a lot of the cards in here are on the lower end of the curve. So our highest converted mana cost card is actually a Fury Sliver, which gives all our Slivers double strike. And so that's it. We play a Fury Sliver, and we don't really do anything else. So Water Knot is going to be targeting our Overlord. It's going to tap our creature and then cause it not to untap during our untap step, which we could easily blow up later, but currently cannot deal with. So it would just mean we don't get an attack in with our commander during the next turn. So it's like, do I want to counter it, or do I just want to let it go through? It's just tapping our commander down. So I think we will counter it. Just give him a bird and make that Managorcha Hydra that much bigger. That's going to be a problem sooner rather than later. And I think that's what's going to lead to our attacks during our turn. So they're going to get a swan, get a bird, and we're going to get to keep our commander untapped and unscathed. Okay. You get a bird. Two flying bird. Okay. So it's going to be our turn, and I need to deal with this lurking predators. I also need to deal with this Mana Gorger Hydra. But first things first, let's get rid of the lurking predators. Okay, that's a pretty good draw. A land would also be pretty good here as well. And we draw the land. So Arid Mesa, gonna crack it. And I think we're gonna grab our basic mountain probably. We have access to mana of any color with our Gemhide and other slivers, so I'm not too worried about color fixing, and I've got plenty of blue to play some other stuff. So yeah, just a basic mountain, I think, to kind of spread those colors out a little bit, since our options are mountain or plains. And from there, I'm gonna, first things first, deal with the lurking predators and give our opponent a Hydra trigger. So now they are on par with our commander, and flip a Warcaller. Is that what they got off the top? Let's check the chat. Nope, put a card on the bottom. So luckily we play through that pretty well. Now here we could give our creatures flying. I don't think that's going to be happening currently, just because I'll have more mana to either counter some spells or even use that first ability of Overlord. And since our creatures are unblockable anyway, it doesn't seem quite necessary. The question is, where do I attack? The longer I wait, the bigger this Hydra is going to get, and the scarier it's going to be to deal with as the game progresses. So I feel like that's the best course of action, the best way to attack. Obviously, it's going to warrant an attack back on us, but nothing we can't handle. Overlord getting in. 7 commander, 7 Sliver Overlord damage. That's what's great about this commander as well, is it is a 7/7, so 3 attacks from this, and you know, that's 21 commander damage, and you are done. So no blocks there, and I think we're just gonna leave our mana open, leave our stuff back, so that we can maybe counter something big from our opponents, or, you know, if there's a board wipe from the Tymna Thrasios player, we can throw down a Heroic Intervention and give all our permanents hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, which is a nice little trick. That's kind of what a lot of the instances in this deck do, is they just kind of protect our creatures, protect our commander. So looks like the Remorseful Cleric is going to get in. 2 damage. Yeah, that's it. They're taking 2. No flyers, nothing. And unfortunately, because we are playing some blue counter magic, it's kind of like, well, now I've got to leave mana open and constantly click through these triggers as they go through, so it kind of draws the game out a little bit. But I think we're in a good position. Board state's pretty good. The Hydra is our biggest threat currently, and depending on what our Tymna Thrasios player is going to do, I'm just kind of biding my time to see what they have have going. So, oh, they're going to get down a Hydra of their own. So Uvenwald Hydra is going to let them search for any land from their library and put it into play, tapped. And then its power and toughness is equal to the number of lands you control. And so it starts out as a 6/6 if you play it on turn 6. And then allows you to get another land, bringing it up to a 7/7. So we just got plenty of power on board from both opponents over here. And this guy's a bird. The bird I gave him. He has it. All right. So we'll see what everyone's got going on and just kind of play through our turns and see how we do. Yeah. Tyler, the Thada player, says should have played a different deck. Yeah, then this would have been a different game. Which is obvious, but it's kind of fun. Yeah, the thing about Mana Gorger Hydra is that even when you cast spells, I mean, we've already seen it, but it's just kind of a quick reminder that making it more powerful. So I'm a little bit worried about that creature. It's getting strong. Getting more powerful with each passing turn. And so this equipment is going to allow you to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature if it's green. So nice interaction with Marywn or Gyre Sage or really any of their creatures that they currently have out on board. Getting a little bit of a threatening board state. And they have three remaining mana, 4 with the Gyre Sage. And that is a Pelucranos. So Pelucranos says monstrous. When it goes monstrous, it's going to deal damage and divide it up equal to the number of target creatures your opponents control. And each of those creatures are going to deal damage equal to Pelucranos' power to themselves. Yeah, Slivers, they're something. Welcome, Cardboard Confrontation. It's something. They are something. It's nothing to worry about. I think it's fine for now. Just got an Overlord. Nothing to worry about. I mean, it's not a Mana Gorger Hydra. But you'll kind of see during our next turn exactly why this deck is the way it is. The question is, can we afford to take 10 damage here? Probably not. We're going to take it anyway. No blocks. I want to keep my creatures for some more artifact and enchantment removal, as well as some extra mana during our next turn, because you're going to start to see some crazy mana gaining abilities here soon. If our remaining opponent doesn't play anything that's worth countering, I'm going to tutor up a Sliver and hope to kind of deal with this Pelucranos before it kills all our creatures. So they played another land, 2 counters on the expedition, and once they have 3 quest counters, they can draw 2 cards. So just more value. I'm a little more worried about what's going on in the other 2 players' hands. I mean, they both have a full grip, but board state-wise, the most threatening to us is the Hydra. Well, one of the Hydras. Oh. Did we miss it? I think we yielded through the trigger. Yep, we yielded to the trigger. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate, but, I mean, it still allows us to do what we wanted to, just not as powerful. And we draw into another counterspell, so I promise there's not that many counterspells in this deck. Either way, I still get to do one thing, which is tap better. We're going to tap down 2, 3, and use the Overlord's ability to go searching for any sliver in our deck. And so this is one of the major win conditions in terms of dealing with players. It kind of allows you to grab up exactly what you need because you get one attack in with Overlord, and then you go straight for that double strike sliver. And here it is, Bone Slice Sliver. So we're just going to tap down our 2 other creatures. And do we want to tap down our creatures? Yeah, I think we're just going to tap down our lands because I've got a plan for the creatures. So double strike. Let's see if our opponent has any responses, and doesn't really look like it, but we've got some counter magic to back us up. So Ryan, do you have a favorite sliver? Because mine is not, but I made him a sliver. He was known as Ulamog the Ceaseless Sliver. That's funny. Turning Ulamog into a sliver. Oh geez. My favorite sliver, I want to say that it's possibly Necrotic. That's a big one. Being able to sacrifice and destroy any permanent of your opponent's is pretty strong. Okay, so from here, we are going to destroy an artifact or enchantment. I'm kind of into drawing cards from Dictate of Kruphix, even though now would be a good time to destroy it because it stops everyone else from drawing during a turn cycle, but we can do that whenever. So I think getting rid of the Expedition before he gets his 3rd land on there, I think that's going to be the right choice here. And they are cycling. So last ditch effort, it seems like, because we are going to get an attack. All right, tap 4 target creatures. Okay, I'm going to have to say no to that, unless is he cycling it? No, he's casting it. So we're just going to keep our creatures untapped and tap 1 down. So let's go ahead and tap down this and just give it an old Stubborn Denial. So if I can control a creature with power 4 or greater, counter that spell. I control my commander. So definitely a good addition for this deck if you're looking for ways to protect your board and prevent your opponent from tapping your creatures down or destroying them. And a lot of the lower converted mana cost creatures all give each other +1/+1 bonuses and can get to 4 quite easily. So it's definitely a great inclusion. So there goes that enchantment. And we have 1 mana remaining, which means nothing. So we're just going to attack straight across and kind of get him back. So that should be 21 commander damage. And that'll kind of prevent them from, you know, attacking us because, well, they're eliminated. So down to 3 players and 1 mana remaining, which actually doesn't mean much because no way to interact with it, but puts us in a pretty decent position. A board wipe just kind of doesn't really do it for us. So good game. And we are getting attacked with the Hydra. And maybe the Flyer? Nope, just the Hydra. Okay, so getting attacked with a Hydra, going down to 18. I don't want to block with my unblockable guy, even though I'm pretty sure I'm going to see a board wipe here in a second. Because they also attacked with Tymna into a bird, so there's a good chance that they're going to blow up the board, and we have no way to respond to that. So it's kind of draw into some hate, and you know, we can hope that there isn't a board wipe, but they've got plenty of mana and 9 cards in hand, so I expect something, especially with that aggressive of an attack. But we'll be able to still draw because we left the Dictate of Kruphix around, and hopefully dig up a land so that we can just recast our commander. So, yep, they're going to exile all cards from everybody's graveyard, or from their graveyard. And this is it. This is the board wipe. And it can't even be countered. This is where we're sad because we wish we had 1 more mana for that heroic intervention, which we don't. So I'm just going to tap this and let it resolve. So that way we don't have any extra mana open, and we can auto-yield through these triggers. So 6 mana. Get 'em, says MTG Strategist. Well, I am trying. I just lost my board, so I can't really get them. I just lose my creatures. That's pretty much it. I eliminate a player and lose my board for doing so. Plenty of counter magic, plenty of protection tools for the future, but I need to drop a land. And there's an Authority of the Console, so that's going to be tough. Because that's going to cause creatures to come into play tapped, and then they're going to gain a life for each creature that comes into play tapped. So lose this mana and let them go to their end step, and here we'll just yield through their turn and just kind of wait. So 5 mana for our Thada opponent. Let's see what they want to do here. Play Urgolem's Eye. That's going to produce 2 more mana for them, and see if they want to... Well, they can't. I thought they had an extra blue, but they don't, so no commander. Let's see what they want to do with the remaining 3 mana. Draw a card, clash with an opponent. If you win, return it to your hand. So who'd they clash with? Not us. So that's going to be 2 mana, and that's going to be 3 mana. So they do win, and it returns back to their hand. Seems pretty good. And we do not draw a land here, so that's pretty bad. I think then the plan is just to tap 5 and play a Vanquisher's Banner, calling Sliver. And that'll hopefully help us draw up some more cards because we are running low on life. We're just going to tap out our remaining mana because there's nothing we can cast here either. So that's pretty much it. Just tap out, pass, and hope we draw into something that'll, you know, protect us from whatever our opponents have going on. Because right now, you know, Thrasios and Tymna seem like they're in a pretty good position. 5 cards in hand and plenty of mana. And Azusa is going to let them play additional lands as well. So you kind of see what I was talking about earlier. They're... Oh, wow. Yeah, they casted that Fascination and let us draw rather than... I mean, I guess that's the reason they're playing it. And it does get them 2 lands. But yeah, that kind of filled up our hand quite a bit. We got a lot here. And there's an Exploration, so they can play an additional land, so 3 lands in 1 turn. But let's take a look at what we got here. Might Sliver, +2/+2 to all slivers. Necrotic Sliver, sacrifice, destroy target permanent. Fury Sliver gives them double strike, and Crystalline's gonna give them that Shroud. Are we taking 1? Man, they're not happy with us. I have absolutely no clue as to why we're getting attacked. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're playing Slivers. It's the most tame deck in all of Commander. What could go wrong? Lotus Bloom or Blossom. Put a Petal counter at the beginning of your upkeep, and you may sacrifice and add X mana to your mana pool equal to the number of counters on it. So, and now they have no hand size limit from their spell book, so that's going to allow them to keep 15 cards in hand. For us, every creature spell we cast, we're going to draw another card. And so going empty-handed isn't actually a thing for us. We have 7 mana and could play up to 3 creatures, draw 3 cards, or leave some mana open. What I really want here is lifelink. I have an unreasonable fear of slivers as well. I mean, it's fine. There's nothing to worry about. They're perfectly fine. Okay. This guy flips when you have 10 or more lands. So 1, 2, 3. That's gonna flip. Ugh. That is something to worry about. Because when they flip, it gets to make an elemental where X is the number of lands you control. I think just throwing down a basic, keeping our life total pretty healthy, and just start playing some creatures. I think playing the most creatures as possible, that'll kind of help rebuild the board state, and maybe we'll draw up our lifelink slivers naturally. So this is going to give all our slivers flying, and we draw into a Sky Shroud Claim. It's a pretty good draw. Probably going to cast that, actually. And yeah, all our creatures are coming to play tapped. I knew that. That's something to worry about. Definitely going to go for the Sky Shroud Claim rather than playing more slivers, because it'll just let us play more slivers the following turn. And actually, our forests will come to play untapped, which is very nice. Gonna tap the Sea of Clouds and leave a remaining 2 mana for Crystalline Sliver, as well as we can hope to get down the Necrotic Sliver. The likelihood of that happening is going to be slim, but I think if anything, we just play the Wing Sliver and give our creatures double flying. So here's Sky Shroud Claim. Allows you to search for 2 forests, put them on a battlefield, and they can come to play untapped, which is going to include the Canopy Vista and the... If we go Overgrown Tomb, it's going to allow us to do blue, white, black... Sorry, blue, white... We need 2 blue here. So it's like Breeding Pool, untapped, but then our creatures are going to come into play tapped. So I don't think it's worth it just to play our Winged Sliver here, or our Hibernation Sliver. So, it's 2 mana for 2 life. Ugh. Feels bad. Definitely grabbing Canopy Vista. And then Breeding Pool. I guess the question will just be whether or not I want it to come into play untapped. And I think because our board state is so thin right now, maybe it is good to pay the life and, you know, go down to 15. They attack us for 1. Doesn't really seem like much. 3 if they so choose. Just, we're going to be able to play more slivers, and that'll give us options for, like, you know, playing some more powerful ones in the following turn. So, yeah, I'm going to pay the life here. And, yeah. Down to 15. And this sliver is going to give us Shroud. So we're going to go blue and white. Draw a card from our banner, and we draw into a Crypt Sliver, which doesn't really do us too much good here. And then play a Hibernation Sliver for a blue and a black. and draw into Menace Sliver, also known as the Belligerent Sliver. And that is it. Now we've got 14 cards in hand and we got a discard down. So, but as you can see, we're slowly starting to rebuild. Slowly starting to rebuild. It all just depends on what they got going on over there for their next turn. They can play 3 lands, but there's a good chance they played a majority of their lands already, and we're just gonna kind of hope. Okay. So it'll be good to keep a land, Windswept Heath and Watery Grave. Do we want to get rid of the Sliver Hive or just a basic Plains? I think for this, I mean, the Hive taps for anything, but I'm also worried about like all the other spells we plan on keeping. Let's just get rid of the Plains and pitch that, as well as we have flying currently. If we lose flying, I think we'll keep what we got for flying, and then I probably got to get rid of one more card. We'll get rid of one of the counter spells, so leave a couple things up, but nothing too much to worry about. We got a full grip. I mean, so does everyone else, but I'm feeling somewhat confident in our next turn because we got plenty of mana. 9 mana and 10 if we cast one more with one more land, so that's gonna at the very least give us Might Sliver, give all our guys +2/+2, and I'm almost thinking that getting Overlord down because I really want to gain some life back. Try and search up one of our life gain creatures. It just all depends on what our opponent's going to do with all their extra mana. And they are investigating quite a bit, so plenty of clue tokens. Looks like they're playing quite a bit of lands. And that's a Spike Weaver. Creature type Spike. Yeah, they're a Spike. 4 clue tokens, plenty of lands. They can keep generating a bunch of lands, playing more and more lands. Play a Solemn Simulacrum, grab a land. You know, keep building up those clue tokens. Keep building up that board state. I mean, I was really worried about the Mana Gorger Hydra, but maybe we attacked the wrong way earlier in the game. Retroactively, you know, looking back. The more I see them cast things, the less comfortable I feel with what's going on. Well, we got this. Got ourselves a Harsh Mercy. Make them choose who they want to keep around. And what do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So plenty of mana for a what is it? Yeah, it's an elemental. There's that Lotus Blossom ticking up. Extra petal counter on there. So if they so choose, they could sacrifice it for a single mana. I wonder if they want to use this Soul Conduit and give us their 42 life and have us go up. Maybe I can convince them. What do you think? Maybe? No? Probably? Doubtful. Divination, draw 2 cards for 3 mana. Seems pretty good with 14 cards in hand. You know, go up to 16. Maybe they're looking for something in particular. Something to deal with all these lands. All I know is I can get rid of their board, so maybe they shouldn't do anything to get rid of their board. Should play their own things. Cast their commander. That's That's Thada. Are we finally going to see Thada? Draw 2 cards. Landfall. If a land enters the battlefield under your control, draw a 3rd card. Okay. 5 mana, draw 3. Instant speed during your own turn. You know, to get the landfall trigger. Otherwise, you could do it whenever for 2. Let's see. What do we want to do here? Seven mana for Overlord. 2 mana for negate. 1 mana for... It's not enough for everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 11 is not enough to do everything we want to. I guess my question becomes, am I worried about the last card in their hand? How worried am I about the last 3 cards in their hand? 17 cards, I have no choice. I have to be worried. But just 3 cards, do I expect a board wipe or not? Either way, I think just play a Sunken Hollow from here and maybe cast something a little smaller so that we can leave up some extra mana. For now, it's just going to be a simple casting of the Harsh Mercy. So let's see how our opponents want to react, and then we'll go from there. If I have to counter whatever our opponent has, then so be it. But this is going to make each player choose a creature type, and we're choosing Sliver. And we're going to keep our Slivers, and our opponents are going to have to sacrifice. They're going to pretty much have to sacrifice everything here, so... Let's see. Sack a clue, draw a card, so they are looking for something. Just trying to do something with their mana while they have it. Right now, it's just stall. 15 life is a reasonable amount of life. I mean, it's enough enough to keep us going, but we could use a bit more just to stabilize us back into this game so that we can hopefully, you know, mount a victory, especially with all this, all these aggressors in our hand. Double strike, +2/+0, +2/+2. So maybe they have a 1 mana counterspell they want to respond with, or sacrificing the Traveler's Amulet. Okay, so they draw. Let's see if they want to draw again. 4 mana open, probably going to draw again. Drew another card. This Harsh Mercies, it's still trying to resolve. What do you got? They're gonna make they're gonna put a land on the battlefield, so make another clue before they lose their creatures. And then crack another clue. They can save it for later, but they could easily crack a clue now if they so choose. Their turn's next, so just all depends on what they want to do. So put a land on the battlefield. And yeah, actually, I mean, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Joke's on them. We didn't really plan on attacking. The only plan I had so far was cast this spell and let it resolve. That's the one thing I've planned this turn. Okay, choose my creature type. We're going to go with Sliver. So let's see what our opponents choose from here. What creature they feel is worth keeping. Human. And are we going to see them choose a creature type to keep their creatures around? Nope. So Actually, those are all 3 humans, so we just get rid of the Spike Weaver, which is good. And the Solemn. Okay. So we have 7 mana remaining, 2 of which we can use for one of these, and 5 mana for something, which isn't Overlord. And since we're preventing all combat damage that's being dealt this turn, I think it's just good to play another heavy hitter and kind of wait. Let's just tap 5 and play the Might Sliver. Actually, let's sequence this just a bit so we have an option to play either of those. So just going to draw another card from the Might Sliver, kind of replace itself into our hand. And we draw an Aura Shards, which is pretty good for next turn, that is. I mean, our opponent still is going to have a lot of value that they're going to be generating because they can sacrifice a bunch of their clues and just keep playing more and more powerful, like, you know, sack a clue, draw a card, play a land, make a clue, sack a clue, draw a card. So the value engine, it's online. Probably just going to sacrifice another clue. Tireless Tracker is going to be up to a 6/5. And they have plenty of mana, plenty of cards in hand, and we have one option. One of these two. Whichever one we choose. Okay. There's an Oracle Moldiah, so even more lands. Extra lands. They may play an additional land. And that is a Seedborn Muse, which they can cast next turn. So we're just going to give it to them right over there. Put it on their side of the board, cover up a little bit of ours. We have another graveyard over here. So let's see what they want to do. Sack a clue, draw a card. They draw into that Seedborn Muse. And now we've got a Apprentice on top that can flip, and target player draws X cards. You have close to 9 cards in hand, so I think they're going to cast the Seedborn Muse. And this is where we start to run into some problems. So the question is, what do we do? Nothing? Probably nothing. No responses currently. It's not till later, because we have a counter target non-creature spell and a protect our board state. That's most of what this board does. It's the Necrotic Sliver next turn that we can cast to deal with it. So no responses currently. And that's just going to allow them to untap all their permanents during each other player's untap step. And so they're going to untap their lands, and, you know, depending on what they've got in their hand, besides casting the commander Thrasios and being able to scry, it just kind of like will let them to generate more value when they untap all their lands during each turn. And let's see. Knight's Dealing. Whenever a source deals damage to another player, put that many theft counters on Knight's Dealing. Remove X theft counters from it to search your library for a non-land permanent with current mana cost X or less. So it's just a tutor that costs 4 and sits out on the board. So I think possibly another mana sink for them, because that's kind of how this deck functions. You pay 4, you mana sink for some cards from your deck. And let's see what else they want to do. I expect Thrasios to come down. Are we not seeing Thrasios? They have a way to give their creatures flash. Okay, prosperity. Each player is going to draw 4 cards. That includes us. We're going to draw 4 cards. And we draw into some more card draw. Soul Ring, Magma Sliver, which is a good one, and Horn Sliver to give our creatures trample. But doesn't really do us any good currently. And here comes the extra lands on board, paying 2 life to have the Overgrown Tomb come in to play untapped. And let's see if they want to just keep drawing. Keep things going. Ooh, and that is an Hour of Revelation on top. I don't think in their current position they're going to want to cast that, because that's going to cause everyone to destroy all their non-land permanents, and their board position is pretty strong right now, so just something to look out for and kind of play around, hopefully. And let's see where they want to send this Tireless Tracker. So it looks like they're sending everything over there towards the Thada player. And I don't think they have any onboard tricks that they can do. Besides that one Lotus Blossom mana that is just kind of sitting there currently. Oh yeah, and that's going to cause the Knight's Dealings to trigger for whenever source deals damage to another player, so that's your opponent's. So that's gonna, when they untap, they're gonna have 12 counters on this, and it's just gonna allow them to kind of, you know, play it at any point. 4 mana. Well, 23 cards in hand, 7, 9, 10 mana. They've got to have some sort of response to what's going on over there. Are 2 players going to exchange life totals? Are they going to exchange their life total? Looks like they're tapping that down to do just that. They're going to go from 22 back up to 41. Is that their plan? Okay, yep, that's their plan. With 4 mana remaining. Potential 6. So they're back at a healthy life total. And without any flyers, we may be able to do something about that. Kind of leave it down to the last 2 players. And there's a Mana Crypt from our Thada opponent. What do we want to do here? They got plenty of mana and plenty of cards in hand. I kind of doubt anything we do is going to get through, but I'm hoping we can get off some plays to deal with this crazy board state they got going on over there. Because the second the second they start untapping with everything else, so and there is a dramatic reversal to untap all of their artifacts. So now they have 5, potential 7 mana, potential 9 mana. They got plenty of mana. See what they want to do here. I mean, target player draws 2 cards. So they're causing them to draw 2 cards. They are giving them 2 cards. They have gifted over 2 cards. And now they're sacrificing their Blossom. It's a card. To cast Tidings. And so that's going to do something. Draw 4 cards. Perfectly fine with me. "24 cards in hand. Looks like they're passing their turn. Are we going to see some end of turn Clue sacrificing. See an end of turn. Night stealing tutor for something to deal with our board state. 3 clues. 1 night stealing. And a terrain generator, actually. So they can actually start putting more permanents into play. And there's an overloaded Cyclonic Rift. I'm going to have to say no as best I can. So we're just going to attempt to negate it. They have 9 cards in hand, so the likelihood of our negate resolving is slim, but can't... Oh, and it resolves. Wow. Okay. It still allows them to do quite a bit, but we have a negated Cyclonic Rift with Overload, so that's really good. That gives us plenty of power, and hopefully we'll still be able to do some things. They're going to make an elemental that's a 22/22 elemental, because yeah, they control that many lands. Anything else they want to do here? They have some options. 9 cards in hand and plenty of lands to play. Looks like they tapped down their terrain generator too, so I'm not going to be putting down any more lands anytime soon. Just cracking clues if they so choose, and then they'll untap everything and be able to make another elemental and, you know, tutor something up. I mean, they really have options. I don't know how many instant speed board wipes they have in the deck besides, you know, your good old Cyclonic Rift. But we're going to untap here, hopefully. And plenty of mana. It's going to put us at 11-12 when we get the Soul Ring down. And plenty of power on board. No more counter magic. But we do have our Heroic Intervention to protect us from any indestructible shenanigans. And Flying Shroud. I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. They have a lot of things they can do with all their mana. And there's the Night Stealing. So, oh yeah, they can just pay 3 and search for a non-land card with a CMC 3. So that's you can pay any number of counters. Theft counters, so they could search for multiple cards. For some reason I was thinking you just had to sacrifice it, but no, this is a lot more powerful than I thought, especially when they're going to untap. Do they want to tutor anything else up? We can just go ahead and auto yield through all this. Oh no, it somehow made me auto yield through my untap step. Okay, we've only got one option, and it is Feel Bad, because it made me auto-yield through my turn. Well, that is not good. That is really not good. Oof, that is bad. Oh man, how did that happen? Alright. I wanted to play some of these Slivers pre-combat. That would have been lethal. And all our creatures are going to come into play tapped? Oof. Well, we're going to attack anyway. I got 10 cards in hand and plenty of options. I somehow must have hit 6 during my untap step, and the game thought otherwise. Well, that's 19 damage. Maybe we can hope for something else. Turn off auto yields just in case. I hope I don't auto yield through my second main phase. Well, we're going to yield to both of these though. Hopefully yield through every clue that they grab. So attacks going through. Ah, man, that's so rough. They're going to tutor for something else. They just do not want to take this damage. What do you got, opponent? 14 cards in hand. You have to have some sort of combat trick. Man, giving them another turn. I mean, I don't know if they had any options with their current hand, but that really isn't good. That's not going to do you any good. You could always wait till after combat. Make another huge elemental. And there it is. The Teferi's protection. They're going to phase out. So they're going to leave the game real quick. Just a quick see you later. And fizzle their own trigger. Well, now we can't even target any of their stuff with our Aura Shards or our Necrotic Sliver, at least until their turn. So the best thing to do here is, well, play a Soul Ring and play an Urza's Incubator, Naming Sliver. Now we're going to play the cast our Slivers until we draw something worth playing. We're going to play a Sliver Hive and pay 1 to cast a Horn Sliver and draw a card with Vanquisher's Banner. Shared Animosity would have been great pre-combat. Not really. 2 mana. Oh, well, at least our creatures are coming to play on tap now. That makes a difference. We're just going to keep digging. I think playing Necrotic Sliver, it's like cute, but it's not going to do exactly what we want to here. So we draw another creature. That's going to allow us to play our Predatory Sliver. And we're just going to keep digging. Hoping to draw something up. Not quite what we want to see. And I think we're out of red mana, so one more option is to play the Necrotic Sliver. We've already played land for turn. Yeah. And that's a Nature's Lure. I'm not sure that quite does what we need it to. Huh. Well, that's cleanup step. And down to 15. All of those seem pretty good. I think we're gonna keep some of our stuff, and that's a tough game. They tutored for pretty much anything they want, so I'm just gonna close their board state real quick to give you an idea of what all's going down here. I guess yielding through our first main phase didn't matter too much. They had the Teferi's protection, and we didn't have any reaction to that, but there's a lot of mana going on over here and a lot of things to do, so let's just see what they want to do. We're at 15 life. See if they want to head our way or if they want to attack elsewhere. We are getting attacked with a 22/22 for sure. And anything else? Just the 22/22? Sure. Yeah, we'll get attacked by that. What do we got? What do we got? Blockers. Okay, this is where we get in for a nice block. And make sure our auto yields are off. Click OK through this. See if our opponent has any responses. And then that is when we pay 2 life, return this permanent back to our hand. And that should fizzle the attack. But they're still going to get their Night Stealing triggers off, and they're just going to be able to keep tutoring for whatever they want. So I don't know if that quite helps us, but it kind of gets us out of the combat phase at the very least. I'm just waiting for an Exsanguinate to come down or some kind of other X spell that'll really put us in a tough spot. They still have that board wipe if they want to use that, but I doubt that they're going to destroy all of their non-land permanents. I mean, I'm also surprised we haven't seen Thrasios come down. They haven't cast it this game. I'll keep mentioning it. Maybe they can you know, cast it at some point. Yeah, we did just not draw an answer during that last turn. Okay, so there's the Seasons Past. That's going to allow them to get back Cyclonic Rift, which is going to put us in a bad spot. Can't really respond to that. And get back the Spike Weaver. Oh, this game. This game is a long one and a tough one. So they're going to get back all of their, pretty much everything from their graveyard if they so choose. Any number of cards with different converted mana costs. So they grab back Cyclonic Rift, Prosperity, Spike Weaver, Uvenwald Hydra, and that's it. That's everything they chose. So plenty of mana open, 22 black. We're just going to yield through this. And also, I am now realizing I can tap my creatures to give them +X. Okay. So they're going to play the Meek Stone, causing their own creatures also not to untap during their next untap step. Huh. There's a Thematic Compass. That's going to flip and turn into essentially a Mazavith. Wherever it ended up. So many permanents on board, I've misplaced the land. There's an Ulvenwald Hydra. 26. 26. Doesn't untap during their untap step. I don't know what their plan is. They're doing a lot of nothing. Oh, and there's the Thematic Compass. So that turns into a Spires of Araska. So untap target attacking creature and remove it from combat. But since our creatures currently can't be targeted because they have Shroud, and it doesn't look like our Magma Sliver is going to do us any good either currently. I mean, the best thing we can hope for next turn is we just play, recast Soul Ring, recast Urza's Incubator, play our Heart Sliver, and maybe a couple other slivers that will give us enough damage to close out the game. They're only sitting at 22. I mean, besides a Cyclonic Rift, I mean, they could wait to cast it during our combat. There is a good chance that they will cast it during our combat phase, though. And they have played an Exquisite Blood, which says whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. And did they just tutor up a 2-card combo this late in the game? Just to win by by a combo, Sanguine Bond, Exquisite Blood. Is that where we're going right now? Tutor for something for 4. Okay. And they still have plenty of counters on that Night Stealing. Just kind of flipping the top of the library around. Got an Hour of Revelation or Hour of Promise on top. Karma. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, Karma deals damage equal to the number of swamps they control. Okay. Do they have an Urborg? Are they just gonna drain us out by turning all our lands into swamps? They do have an Urborg. We have an Urborg. You gain life equal to sacrifice creature's toughness. They're back up to 49. Yeah, it's a Diamond Valley. Not sure how we get through that. And they have Cyclonic Rift mana open. That's all going to untap anyway because of Seedborn Muse. Yeah, I'm not sure how we come back from here. And they're just going to dirtle till the end, so. Oh yeah, back to our other player. And there's the Exquisite Blood, so whenever our opponent loses that much life, you gain that much life. Night Stealing's going to put a bunch more counters on it. So they're down to 19. And we're going to lose quite a bit of life. 11 life from the Karma. Yeah, and they're at 57. It's going to cost us 7 for Overlord, too. Well, 5 if we get down the Urza's Incubator again. I mean, what? I can deal with the Authority of the Councils first. That's going to be what I'm going to have to get through before anything. I just don't see how we come back from here. I'm going to have to draw my own Cyclonic Rift, and even then, opponent's got 12 cards in hand. Could be anything. You need your own Cyclonic Rift. Thada, opponent, what do you got? You got plenty of mana. We all do. That is the Orbs of Warding. Is why you cannot target him. He has hexproof. Well, there you go. Let's also take a quick moment to return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So they're going to return that back to their hand in hopes that they can now target them with their remaining mana. Okay, so what do we got? 2 players are going to exchange life totals again, so that's going to put them back at 57. Unless they have plenty of responses before then. So their game's going to go on for a while, but our game is not going to. There's an Alchemist's Refuge, so they may cast spells as though they had Flash. So they have plenty of options they can do before the life total changes if they want to cast a bunch of spells and, you know, kind of deal 19 damage. Let's see what they got. 25 black mana. I don't think the orbs is going to work the way he wants it to, because 2 players are going to still exchange life totals. But there's a cancel. So in an attempt to deal with the orbs, they're going to still try and exchange life totals. So let's see if they go up to 57. And they do. They're back down to 19, but they still have the ability to sacrifice a creature with Diamond Valley and make their life total equal to the toughness. So it doesn't really help us with our attacks during our next turn, because we still have a Cyclonic Rift to deal with and many other things that are going to come down during our opponent's next turn. My biggest hope is to bait out the Cyclonic Rift before combat. Let's see what else we can do. And yes, I wanted to double check things. Yeah, we're good. We're just gonna F6 through all this and just kind of wait. Patiently deal with what's going on our opponent's board state. They got plenty of mana and plenty of options. Let's just hope they deck themselves. Okay, Hour of Promise, casting it during an opponent's turn. See, all of this is great. All of this is really cool. It's like, yeah, I get all this value, but they don't have any finishers currently. Even though I do see a Sphinx's Rev on top, that's going to allow them to draw more cards and gain more life, so it'll put them in a healthy position. Insight, whenever our opponent casts a green spell, draw a card. Alright. So whenever I cast a green spell, they may choose to do such. And they've got 3 mana remaining, so it all just depends if they want to cast things now with their open mana before it goes to their next phase. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Viseling is going to deal X damage to that player, where X is the number of cards in their hand minus 4. So we will take 4 damage from that, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 from our... So I think that's game for us. Things are not looking too well for us. We have no responses to anything that's going on currently. And they're going to make another elemental. Just the best elementals. They are, you know, oxes. Unless the deer looking creature in the bottom is actually the real elemental. No, it's the other elemental. And they're just night stealing for whatever card they want in their deck. They just need to close it out. They could cast a Blue Sun Zenith for a bunch if they want to draw that up. With, are they out of clues? I think they're out of clues. No, they got plenty of clues. Draw it up. Make us draw a ton of cards, or make the Thada opponent draw a bunch of cards. Night Stealing coming out and again. That's another 6 converted mana cost spell that they're going to get. So it kind of gives them any option. They just need to close things out. Because like I said, we have no way of interacting with a Cyclonic Rift currently. And so that's pretty much it. Half our creatures aren't going to untap. They're going to get another untap step anyway. Are we going to see a Sphinx's Revelation? Blue Sun Zenith? I mean, I'm dead. Upkeep, die. So what do you got? True Conviction? Okay, that's cool. Are they going to respond to our upkeep too? Play a bunch of stuff? Seems likely. I mean, this is great. They're just trying to win. They got 3 mana. Maybe if we tell them. Upkeep die for us. I mean, even with without the Opalescence, they've got plenty of damage on board to deal with both of us. So, are they just gonna counter the counter and give them the game? What do you got, opponent? Tapping all your mana so that you can resolve the Opalescence. And with those triggers on the stack, that is game. Just going to yield through all that. More triggers for Night Stealing, more triggers for Exquisite Blood. And we're at 2 life. We could respond with a Heroic Intervention, but it's not going to do anything, and could destroy some permanents, but I mean it's really over. We're just going to lose the game here. So that is game for us. Kind of leaves our opponents with not much else. And we're just going to say game and get into another one. Kind of wrap that one up and play another game. Because nothing, just a quick attack with some creatures. So we're actually going to let them attack real quick. Kind of show what's going to happen. So we got a 22-22. A 14-14, and pretty much as many creatures as they want. They've got game here. Are they gonna cast something? Flash during our end step? Yeah, okay, we're just gonna let that continue out as we start another game. So head to play lobby and host another match. So we're just gonna get into another game here in a moment. Play some more Commander. If anyone wants to join, by all means. I'm gonna host a new match because they, as we've said previously, they're still playing it out. So they want to keep casting spells and keep doing things. I mean, they've got enough power on board to win the game. So it's, you know, play a Cyclonic Rift, attack with 2 creatures. And does that Karma include themselves? Yeah, that does include themselves. But they've got plenty of elementals, so all I have to do is attack. We're just going to let this game conclude, actually, since it's only going to take a moment. And 3/3 creature with flash that dies, or an enchantment creature. Interesting. Why didn't you take damage from the Karma? He did. Life gain is just that good. Yep, and so they scoop it up. That's the game.